everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Michelle and I talk books, and today's book I am more than excited to talk about. I couldn't wait to read this. I'd been waiting for it and I finally got to it. Up on your screen, Danielle Steel's The Wedding Dress came out April 28th. I am late to this game, which always makes me upset about Danielle Steel books because she has another one coming out in like 2 weeks. That's how she is. They just keep coming. Finally, I got to read this. So excited. Just as amazing as I thought it was going to be. So let's get into it. At the bottom of your screen, 304 pages, women's fiction. It's been on the New York Times bestseller list for the last 3 weeks, basically as long as it's been out, and it's number 12 this week. Why do we love this book so much? I'm going to give you my 5 reasons of why I love this book and why I think you should read this book. And you guys know, look on my channel, I have a whole section of Danielle Steel. I had gotten to the point that I wasn't reading her books anymore. That was crazy. I picked one up and I'm like, of course you love her books. She was the beginning of me loving books. I can go back. Okay. And I would, as she was coming out with a book, you'd go to the bookstore, you'd see a new Danielle Steel book, you'd get so excited. And now we get to know about it a little bit ahead of time. We get very excited still. She is the ultimate. Let's dive into this. Let's find out why I love this book so much. And can we just talk about the cover for a second? I'm going to put that cover back up. Whoa. Sometimes she comes out with a cover that just blows me away, and this is one of them. Sometimes her covers are, they come, they go. You're like excited about some of them, but this one, I was like, yes, Danielle, I love this book cover. Let's get started. Number 1, women's fiction. I love a good women's fiction, and she owns women's fiction as far as I'm concerned. No one does it better than her. You can argue. I see the reviews. People get mad at her. They're like, oh, it's just another typical Danielle Steel book. I'm sorry. When did that become a bad thing? Look at the history of her. Women's fiction is hers, and she's written different genres. I don't want to make it seem like she doesn't. She owns women's fiction. I feel like she started women's fiction. People who write women's fiction should go to her books. She does it perfectly. We'll get into it. I have more to say on that. Number 2, because it was generational. I love generation books. Love them. So this story begins in the 1920s and it ends in present day. And of course, all these women have in common is the wedding dress. First of all, she does historical fiction beautifully. She has a lot of books on World War II historical fiction. When we start at the 1920s, she goes through the 20s, 30s, 40s. She's laying the groundwork. She's doing it perfectly. You feel like you are there, and that's because she knows this. She knows that time period, and she owns that time period as far as I'm concerned. As you are growing up, I should say, with these women, you feel like you are right there in the book with them. I think this is a good time to say this. I'm like, is this a good time to say this? I think it is. About halfway through the book, I'm like, okay, this is a great story on its own. It's perfect. And then I was like, okay, Danielle, what do you have in store? This is not going to end. Like something's going to happen. And then like within 10 pages, something huge happens to the story. But it was almost like I could feel her tension because nobody writes like her. Nobody. I'm sorry. Nobody writes like her. She is her own brand of writing. I've read a lot of them. She can lay it in like 30% of the way through. And then something happens. This one, it was, I'm telling you, I looked at it, it was half the book. She is laying it. This is happening. This is happening. This is happening. You can almost feel the pressure of, it's coming. And it does in a big way. And I don't give spoilers. You just have to wait and you got to read those first. You can't just go to half of the book and then think you're going to pick up on it. No, you got to read the book to get it. Number 3, one of the things that I love up on your screen, sentence structure. Her sentences, I was really paying attention because I'm like, why? Why do we love her so much? What is it about her that we get sucked in? Is it because she's the most lyrical? No, because her sentences are so simple. In the first chapter, she can take you from page 1 to the end of the first chapter it would be a book in itself. I'm always amazed by her first chapter. She's like, catch up, catch up, catch up. Here they are. This is what they're doing, but this isn't the story. Some authors, it would take you half a book to write her first chapter and then do it as simply as her, with short sentences placed perfectly, not trying to be all flowery about it. Is that a good way to say it? I don't know. Tell me below if you understand it, because I'm trying to figure it out. Why do we love her so much? I am trying to figure it out. We know that we do. We know we buy her books. We know we can't wait to read them. And then I want to know why. What does she do differently? Because I like to tear apart books like that. I am weird like that. I really want to know. I can figure it out with other people. And with her, I'm just like, why? How does she do this? No matter what genre she is writing, it is her writing that takes us in. It is the way she places her sentences. I'm telling you, that's my opinion. If you agree or disagree, let me know. I want to know. Number 4, the 4 women, the 4 generations this story is about. Eleanor, Charlotte, Ruby, Kendall. Let me just tell you a quick story. It's my daughter's birthday. It's her 29th birthday, my oldest daughter. I was trying to figure out what to buy her, and I'm going on all these websites and Pinterest and all this stuff. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going through pictures. I'm putting away pictures during this pandemic. I've been trying to clean things up. And I found a picture of my mom as a baby. And I thought, you know what? Because she just had her first little girl almost 2 years ago. So I got pictures, and I'm going to put it up on your screen, and it's my mom, and then me, and then her daughter. I loved it, and I put it together. Fast forward 2 weeks, I start this book, and it's about 4 generations of women. What is it about that? I don't know. My mom was the youngest daughter, but I was her oldest daughter. And then Kara is my oldest daughter, and Lillian is her oldest daughter. And I love that. And then they can go on and do their own. As Lillian grows up, she can have her 4 generations. And there's just something about it. I don't know. I loved my grandmothers so much. I was close with both of them. And they were so completely different. And yet I felt so connected to each one of them. So I'm reading this book and I'm like, oh my God, that is such a coincidence. But I don't think anything is a coincidence. You got these 4 women. We've got the wedding dress that they have in common. They are 4 completely different women, which I also love. We're not all the same. We have characteristics. And these women were, do I want to say pioneers? I don't know. They were unique in their own way. And you will not understand some of their choices, but you have to understand the underlying, I guess, and why they chose the paths they did. I think that's all I can say about that. Number 5, because it's Danielle. Hello. Because we read Danielle Steel books. How many times do I have to say that? Do you know that she has sold almost 1 billion books? 1 billion. You know, think about J.K. Rowling is a billionaire from the Harry Potter series. Danielle Steel has sold almost 1 billion books. So like if they were $1 a piece, but they weren't. Think about that for a minute. That's just crazy. Why do we love her? Another reason, because they always have happy endings. You always get a wrapped up story with Danielle. That's another thing. It never feels forced. She ties it up with a bow and like gives it to you as a present and is like, here's my newest book. Please read it. And it's going to be perfect. We read it and we're like, thank you, Danielle. It is perfect. And it ended perfectly. Usually you read her books and you get to the end and you're like, oh, can you just write another chapter, please? Just one more. You always want more. I always want more from her. She is 72 years old. She has 9 children, which I just love. Her first book was in 1972, Going Home. I think I talk about that all the time. She is the ultimate, as I like to think of it, like the women's lib movement back in the 70s. Right now I'm watching Mrs. America, and I'm going to put that up on your screen. I don't know if you guys have watched it. She is that 70s woman to me. She was having babies, but she had her own thing going. She wasn't that stay-at-home mom through the whole thing. I think her children can look at her and be like, my mom was Danielle Steel, and she raised 9 children and she probably wrote like in the middle of the night. I wish she would come out with a real memoir. Please, Danielle, a real one. I know you've come out with like simple little ones, but I mean a real memoir, because I want to know, and I think your readers all want to know your story. Everyone, that is it. I am so happy I finished it, and I know I have another one to look forward to in, I think, less than 2 weeks. I am thrilled about that. More and more of us are able to go to bookstores, so I'm going to put the IndieBound link below. Amazon link. If you want to read it this Memorial Day weekend, you can. I listened to it. I read it. I loved it. It's more than 5 stars worthy. More than, but all of her books are to me. So thank you for watching. Please hit like if you like this review, because I love when you hit like. It really makes me happy. And please subscribe. I've been putting out tons of videos recently because I'm here at home reading during pandemic. Everyone have a happy Memorial Day weekend until my next book.